to restart the program, resume the program. Pauline, you ready? All right, so we're going to raise the podium and make her presentation. So we have an educator in our midst, not just a businesswoman, a financial guru. We have an educator influencing a lot of young lives. So I'm very excited to hear what Colleen has to say to all of us this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, Colleen Montague.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a dream come true. I'm in a room full of business people as a principal. And so principal and business together. And I've always thought of how I could network, because it's one of the things that you're told to network. Here's my biggest chance of networking. And I wondered why me? And then I answered myself to say, why not me? So here I am today. I see some past students in this room, and they're accustomed to my voice over the many years, and the different things that I've had to say to them about values and attitude, and the values that you need to have as a So I'm speaking to you about understanding and leveraging your values, my values, and you talk about values all the time. I'm a storyteller, I'm a teacher, and I am also visual. And most of you in this room, according to scientific studies, are visual learners. And so I'm going to go very visual today in what I am about to present. Please help. Okay. And so here I am, the nurturing years between my family and my school. Top of my head to the bottom of my feet, I'm a Mulmerian. And my father and mother nurtured me alongside my school Woolmans. And I went to church every day, except Saturday morning. And so religion was deep in my soul, from Sunday school to past, and my father went into the church. But I assumed that I should have. Some went through the windows, what my father, mother tried to teach me, but then they were reinforced and brought back into the picture by school. So my nurturing years between family and school were phenomenal. And as we went along, I decided that, well, my mother decided I should be a teacher. And so off she sent me to Teachers College. And I became a teacher of English, language and literature. And then I took on sociology and world affairs and general paper. And after that, I just believed my mother. I saw my mother going to work every morning. I saw my father leaving at 4. And I saw them committed to their jobs every day, the values of hard work, commitment. It was just, you know, one of the things that I remember from my childhood days, the scent of my mother's bag. Her bag had a particular scent. And in that bag, she had her perfume, she had her pens, she had all sorts of things in that bag. And I said, when I grow up, I want my bag to smell like that. I really don't know if my bag is smelling like, but I know I learned whatever my parents were trying to teach me. Some values came along the way. And so over the years, between home and school and church, I became a teacher. And a teacher of girls. I taught boys somewhere along the line. Didn't have much use for them after a while. Because boys are boys, but I love girls. I found that I related better to the girls than boys. And so I ended up back at my alma mater as a subject teacher after several schools before that. And so here I am as a subject teacher, just going to school, teaching, loving my children, teaching every day. And through that, I dwelled on making them better. And so in them becoming better, I became a better teacher. And after a while, I got some teacher and eventually vice principal. And then the day after a while, they suggested that I apply for the principal position. And I became a principal. So there I am as a principal and wondering, okay, I had a wonderful mentor in Pamela Harrison, and she was my all as a teacher. And so I observed her over the years, whether she knew it or not. And I observed her in action over the years as to how she every day. And I was a principal. So what does that mean? It means doubt and fear. That's what came to me first. This very pensive picture was one taken at the retirement function for our principal. And after I heard the long list of all that she had accomplished and all that was expected of me over here, and I saw this room full of persons, and I'm saying, what did I get myself in at this point? And where and how am I going to take on all of this? This is Wolmer's, this is principal. What are you supposed to be doing? And at that time, I had had no leadership training. And so I'm in the job and wondering what next. I did a master's in education, and within that I had support. And these are all the persons who are around me, trying to teach me, show me, chairman, colleagues, teachers, students, parents, everyone together. And I'm in the middle there trying to figure out how and what is it that I'm supposed to be doing here. And the next thing is I'm looking at Wolmer's, I'm looking at how to manage my family because I had two young girls. One, well at that time it was one, and she was in prep school. And I'm trying to balance that family with what I know of family life and work life. And then in came another organization. Being a principal, we have a Principals Association, and it's called ISA, Intersecondary Schools Association. And hey, suddenly I'm in charge of a sport. And suddenly I'm moved into boys and girls championship to cheer. So I'm managing Wolmer's, and both of those things are two full-time jobs individually. So together, it's managing all of what is supposed to be. So I'm confused, I'm seeking support, I have support, but I'm still confused, and I realize, hello, I need, what do you need to do? And suddenly, I found it. I realized that I needed to be me. I needed to understand me first, understand my values, and find out why I'm doing this. Why am I being a principal of the school? Why are you the principal of this school, and what do you want to do for these girls in this school? And I pondered on it for very long. I talked to a couple persons about it. And the next thing I know is that we were sitting around a table and we were consulting each other, and I realized one like Mrs. Harrison. I was given the instructions in her tone. I was walking like Mrs. Harrison, and I said, stop it. You need to be, you love her to death, and you want to make sure that Wolmer's is Wolmer's, but then it has to be your voice that the students and staff will hear. And so I met with my staff, stakeholders, and we came up with our vision and some structure. And in all of that, I found my values. I got back to basics. And I'm looking at values, and I'm seeing where values is not something that you just pluck from the sky. And it's not something that you just talk about just because. Values actually is your life. It's how you walk, how you talk, it's what you do, it's what resonates in your heart. It's your laugh, it's your talk, it's you. And those things that you possibly learned in church and you learn from your family. And it's the way you walk. And so today I say to the girls, walk with dignity and pride. Have respect for yourself. Be ladylike. Be committed to your task. If you say something, follow through on it. Be disciplined about how you go about your life. And so that's a daily conversation that we have. Because these values are what are inside of you. It's you. It's a discipline, it's whatever it is. And it represents your dreams, your attitude. It represents you wherever you go. So what are the values that we are taking with us every day? So we have some values that we take with us every day. In the room, and I thought about that. What will people say about me if I'm not in the room? And I would want to know that my mother would be proud about what they're saying. That my father, my past teachers, Mrs. Harrison, would have been very proud of me about what they're saying when I'm not there. And so I'm trying very hard to really inculcate in my girls, my own family, my 2 girls, and also into the girls at Wolmer's, the values that they ought to have that will take them in their lives. Because the best of you should come out when you're in problems and worries and trials and tribulation. The best you is that should rise in that moment and not the worst. And so those values can help you transcend in moments when you are in your greatest need. And so every day we're building our network. We try to include all of what we are trying. We establish the limits and the boundaries and determine standards within Wolmer's Girls, and making sure that they understand what they need to take with them to be global citizens. And we want them to be global citizens, and so that they are able to operate based on the values that we have learned and we have taught them over the years. And so my question really is, in establishing the values, is whether or not do we integrate our balance, our work life? And it has been said before that it's more an integration. It's not that balancing act, it's integrated. I have learned over the years to let go of guilt of when I'm at work and the children are at home. Letting go of the guilt, and I've mastered the art of bribing. So whenever I'm going to, I know that, and so I pick them up and I say, Wendy's, Kentucky, Burger King, which one? And so that, and if it's a weekend, I know, okay, what do you want me to take back? You want a blouse, you want a skirt, you want lipstick, what is it? So you also, and I won't bring the husband in as to what that is. So we get organized, and so all of this is integrating, understanding, letting go of your guilt, and leveraging the values. Because over the years, those values that are me, that are in me, have come out. I see the girls and I get the feedback from them. Some of the things that we try to instill in them in high school, we see it now. And I always say, for the most defiant child, it's not now, it's then. Look at her then. Look at her in the future, because she needs to go through this to get where she needs to in another 15 years. And so hard work, accountability, consistency, all of these values I use to influence the students I work with, the staff I work with. I use it to motivate them. And I firmly believe in walking that talk and following up. Follow through on what I say, and if I don't mean it, I don't say it. And if I'm not going to be able to do it, don't say it. I say what you mean what you say, walk the talk, and follow through. Follow and attitude that will drive you it will help you to really integrate your family in a better way. And so, in trying to integrate the values that I have, I believe firmly in enjoying life with my family. Enjoy it when I have it, so drive time is very good. I do make use of my drive time, and I take them to every event that I'm having at work. So if it's holidays and they're on holidays, I say carry the bicycle, put the bicycle in the back of the vehicle, and go ride around the schoolyard. There's a pool, lifeguard, watch them while they're swimming. And so they're there with me, and I've been able, because of the work climate that I have, that I'm able to integrate them. And my work is not a mystery to them. I talk about my job every day. So they come home and they ask me, so what happened at work today? Who you kill? And so we have that type of, I have demystified my job, and therefore they feel a part of it whenever we are having the conversations. And I pass on what I work with, I expect from my students, which is pressure for my girls. So much pressure on them at times that Mrs. Montague, look how Mrs. Montague's daughter dressed, look how she have on shorts. And she tell me that we must wear shorts, those kind of things. But it's balancing and managing all the things. And so I create time for myself as well, because that's one of my values, enjoying my life, my time, me. What I like, what I want to do for myself, I make space for that because I value that. And I also work, and so I've integrated all of them because they're all me. And in all of that, I want every aspect to be working and to be successful. And I think over the years, I have tried to be grounded, what I can do, know my strengths and my weaknesses, and integrating all of what I've learned throughout my life. And these girls are very important to me. I know what is important to me. Over the years, I've learned that. I've learned what is important and to focus on what is important. And the results that these girls are able to deliver now, as against 10 years ago when the pass rate in the school was 70% to a 99.7% pass rate now, is something that we can speak about. If we can speak about them passing of the CSEC cohort, that they are 17 subjects, 100% of 21 subjects, and all the others were 97, 98, 94, then we are getting results. The feedback is there, emphasizing values, understanding that as a leader, and really passing on what the things are important to me, I know. And then, this is my beautiful, beautiful family. And they keep me grounded. They tell me like it is. So whether I like it or not, they are there. And they keep me grounded on the values, and we keep building together because I understand it's me. All of that come together. It's all about what I do, how I respond, and what I do every day is important to everybody else around me. And ultimately, I give credit to the school I attended, the place I work, Wolmer's Trust High School for Girls. There's no other school like it. No other place in the world like it. And so, Agate Portuguese, the other schools are even nameless. I believe in that motto, which is the framework for my life. Whatever you do, do it well. I learned it in high school, and I've carried it because those values I learned there are the ones I have taken into the workplace as a leader. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Agate Quartergis, if you've never been to Wolmer's, come see us. There's an open invitation.
Wasn't that a fabulous presentation, ladies and gentlemen? I think we should give her another round of applause. I'm actually about that bribing life, integrating or bribing the kids because I do it all the time too. Last week was crying because again I was leaving for work and I felt very distraught about it. The oldest son looked at me and said, "Mom, it's okay, you can go because I see an iPad in my future." What could I say? All right. So we have another fabulous lady who's going to grace our presence with her presentation, Nina Israel. She is a special advisor to the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Nina.
Thank you very much, Gail. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
It's such a pleasure to see so many of you that I know that grew up in my arms, whether it was Scotiabank or RBTT. Gail told you a story earlier, and last night, or really early this morning when I was writing some stuff down, I said, damn, where is Gail? Because Gail would have come and sit in my office and say, Mina, what do you want to talk about? And after 15 minutes, she would go and come back with a draft. I don't have a Gail in my life. It's such an honor to be here to share with all these fantastic panelists. And I must say thanks to Delroy. I can't find him. I mean, this is absolutely amazing what he continues to do. I'm so honored to know his mom so very well. Silence. I want to also welcome Miss Babsy Grange, who is in silly season now. You realize that? But it's really good to be here and I know I have 15 minutes and I'll make it 13 because a lot of what I would love to say has been said. There's a little overlap. As you look at the topics, there's some overlap as we juggle this act. So this morning, as they mentioned, I'm at the University of the West Indies this morning, and I'm going to whisper something to you. We have a fabulous guest coming in, so we had a planning session. This guest is no other than Danny Glover. You remember? Yeah. Okay. So we were planning, the public lecture and all that, and I turned to some of the women there and I said, do you have it all? Can you have it all? And Marcia Erskine said, certainly. And I'll quote what she said, certainly, but just more of some and less of some. And then I turned to a recent graduate who works at Carrie Mack, Olivia Bravo, and she said, I'm yearning for all, but it's eluding me. So really, guys, the big challenge we have is time. Time in your day, time in your life to have it all. Definitive answer to that question. It's all about making choices, making hard choices. And that's the first point I will make this afternoon. Because really, we are the only person. You are the only person. I'm the only person who can define all. My all is certainly your all. And at the same time, my 80% of stages of your life. So each of us have our individual definition of all, based on our personal circumstances and our aspirations. But despite this personal definition, it's difficult, it's hard, it's tough. And this is what prevents a lot of us women and some men from reaching their full potential and happiness. You are the person who will determine the required level of focus. Is it when I'm 28 to 35, family, having my kids? Or is it grad school? And every Sunday afternoon when you go into the office, hello everybody, Because guess what? We want to be vice presidents in 2 years. And that balance, born absolutely, but it's how I define, and it's not the same as my mom, who her dad all was, how do we adjust something or separate, God forbid. It's an excellent opportunity. You take, but once you've decided where your focus lies and the areas that you want to pursue excellence, I believe you can then be on that journey to having it all. I mean, I know a lot of you know about my past, and I see my friends, Scotiabankers, particularly hoping, looking at me. But there's really no doubt that the road I traveled may not be the road a lot of people will travel or have traveled. I took a lot of risks. And in 2005, when I was invited to take on my own leadership, I mean, that's all I was waiting for. But it had to be not Jamaica, but in the Bahamas. Can you imagine? The headline in the Bahamas read, "Black Jamaican woman to take over Scotiabank." Right there. That was a risk. And let me tell you, it was the best thing I did. In terms of running your own ship, that's all I wanted. That was my aim, my goal in banking. So, there are a number of things you would need to have to make sure you have it all. At that time, luckily, my son was in university in Toronto. So I didn't have to pick up or drop off. I didn't have to worry about asking a partner, can I go? Because a lot of us women would achieve more, and some of the men hold you back, right? We do bear the brunt of added responsibility. And this is what they call the double burden. The double burden refers to the dual role undertaken by working women. One job in the formal workplace, and the other managing the household and the family. The related challenges of taking time to take that child to the doctor, caring for our parents, caring for a who is very ill, or these days a partner who is very ill. That's the right word, right, Pat? All because so the emphasis on career, less emphasis on time served at the office. And I know, Therese, you spoke to that. And the alternative policies which should be implemented. So really, having it all depends on the best place to work. And we were having a little sidebar at the table, and Therese wanted to know, in Jamaica, what are the companies that really could be considered the best place to work? And of course, Gail said Flow. I mean, and she said, in addition to Flow. And I said, you know, Scotiabank. And I know, because, you know, Scotiabank for women, we in 2002 established the Women in International Banking, where we not only prepared women for leadership, we made sure that we identified the high potential persons, we coached them, we gave them rotation in jobs, and I was one of the beneficiaries of that. But you know what, girls, ladies, we who can see that the best person for the job at the time need you. We do need you. So the best place to work should bring you joy in the morning. I mean, I spring out of bed and say, yes, yes, you know, you're going in. A desire to perform at your best all the time. Doing what's worthwhile and adding value. It is a truly important companies to attract, retain, and move. We're not moving from flow to elsewhere. It's about creating programs, as Therese mentioned earlier, the flexible working hours, childcare, and here I must commend JMB. Over the years, they've done a fantastic job of that. Job sharing or part-time. You know, earlier when Therese mentioned that her husband who's retired is doing a lot of things that traditionally we women did. I saw that when after grad school in Canada and I worked in Toronto, the girl who taught the class, we were going in on Sundays to make sure we were the one getting the VP job. Her husband was in the class as well, but she got a better offer at the time from Royal Bank. Guess what? He stayed home with the kids. So that's something that's been happening in the first world for years. Well, I mean, I know about our Jamaican men. So it's having it all is a challenge. There's no question about it. And the difficulty is being to achieve that balance that prevents many women from reaching it's my to have it and I've been blessed different stages of in my young days. I have some in the ladder. I was working so hard for my clients. I was out late, but luckily I had that support system. I had a niece who lived with me, who would check the homework, and all I would say, is everything okay? Is it correct? Well, my son don't remember that. Luckily, I'm paying for it now because I have to spend a little bit more on him, right, Madge? It's important life that can be there for you. As I mentioned, the kid to pick up from the child care, your friends, your colleagues. But if, you know, guys, we are very lucky in Jamaica. We can outsource a lot of the duties that when I lived in Canada, I had to take up my Jamaican, my son's nanny. You can't do it, and you can't afford those people there. So in Jamaica, we're very fortunate housewives. We don't like to do what we do to have it all. Women in all vocations have a high need for achievement. We want to achieve, and we want to try to reach that next level. But as I mentioned earlier, oftentimes it's necessary to take a little calculated risks. Therese coming to Jamaica, I'm sure she saw Jamaica has a bad place to go, you know, security concerns. But I tell you, don't want to leave, right? No MBA was offered in Jamaica, so I had no choice how long ago that was. And, you know, for 6 months, I lived in London, Ontario, Canada, without my son. I missed his last birthday. I said, you're going to Miami without me? It was his first birthday, we weren't going to be together. And he said, Mom, get real. But at the time, you know why? When I look back, it was the best thing. Getting that ahead of the pack with an MBA from Western allowed me to get a great job in Toronto to recruit me and bring me back home. That was the best thing. So when you get that financial stability, you can then look at other areas, and this is what I've done. The family and friends, bridging the streams, giving back to the community. In what International Women's Forum to take over from Sister P. Just kidding, she's in business to achieve building. You know, so the risks are early. It's not really early, but I tell everybody all and do that you didn't get to do while you were 80% developing that career. Achieving my desired goal in and my extent, I had it all as well. And I remember when at the time I was chair for the Monash School of Business and Management. I said, you know what, they need some help. We need to integrate this business school into the private sector, and who better to do it? So I said, you know what, I'm going to take a year off and give back to UA. My son said, Mom, is our lifestyle going to change? So you got to make sure you have that financial stability to be able to do a number of the things that you want to do. So you see the different lifestyle changes and what you do and where you put the focus. So it's not 25%, you know, the way some people do a balanced scorecard. Right now, for me, it's a higher percentage for community giving back. When I was in my 40s and early 50s, it was more career development and getting to the top, having it all. But that was my definition of having it all. So, as I wrap up, I do believe it to have it all. Each and every one of us, a different division of changes. Adjust your expectations and what people expect of you. Your own some of the ways that we can do this is choosing the best place to work, having a village for support, outsourcing those tasks that may be less, you know, pleasant at the time, or, you know, where somebody more competent can do it better. Working smart, adding value, knowing when to say no. And ladies, please, when to say no. The men do a very good job at this. Don't stretch yourselves thin. I mean, I can see there are some people who are stretched, who are being stretched. You know, as I'm leaving the bank, you can imagine with the skills I had in banking, everybody wants you on their board. Oh, she has credit, she has finance, she has operations. Know when to say no. Because they're just grabbing you and using you, and you're the one who's going to be stressed out and tired at the end of the day. Give back, but balance it. Find ways to leverage across the streams, combining family and friends, as I mentioned earlier. Learn from your failures, because I've had quite a number of them. But don't beat up on yourselves when you fail. Pick up and go again, and then you'll get it right. Make some sacrifices along the way. And above all, adjust your rate, your successes. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Mina Israel. So we have another banker in our midst, Audrey Tugwell Henry. Audrey, Retail Banking Division, National Commercial Bank, and I'm sure she has a lot of things to say. Advancing career-wise. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Audrey.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so happy to see that we still have a full room. And I don't want to be partial, but let me just big up my little NCB and Scotiabank fans. One of my speakers, when I got the letter, I was like, why not? Because I wanted to understand the context. Interpretation of the topic is that choice of making that staying home and being a homemaker full-time, or choosing to work a career. And currently I work at NCB and I work full-time. And to Mina's point, I sit on a few boards as well. And so you wonder, you know, if you can stretch yourself, but we have to find that balance. But as women, and it's unfortunate that men don't really get asked that question, you know, are you really going to pursue a career? You know, people kind of wonder and look at you sometimes and think, oh, she's working too hard. I wonder what's happening with her children and with her family. And if you choose to take on a full-time as well as responsible from creating. But I think that, but let me step economically, women in the workforce, 5% of the workforce. 50 years later, in 2013, they're about 72.7 full-time in the workforce, and that was about 47%. In Jamaica, we are pretty similar because we have 45% of the 1.3 million women who are in fact an increase of participation rates in the workforce. Where there are things in Jamaica, there was a time when, as a woman, you would go off on maternity leave and it would be unpaid leave. And so we take those things for granted. Other things that governments have done is things like attempt at equity in gender compensation. We know that that is not fully realized, but there's been an attempt. And also, inclusion of girls in the education system, to the point where in Jamaica, boys, and again we take that for granted, but some time ago, right here in this country, boys were given preference in education over girls. So I think some of those efforts have caused more women to participate in the workplace. But on a lighter note, there are things like improvements in science and technology, because before housework was hard. And again, some people may be too remember, because we have things like washing machine and dishwasher and Pampers, right? Which allows us to be able to go to work and still be able to complete the housework to go to work the next day. I mean, some people probably don't remember when hardwood floors were really hard. And to pot with a brush of coconut, you know, but now you have a washing machine, so you can just, and my parents and my parents' parents know the real story. Issue choosing to work outside of the home, and it is really in fact a choice. I know that a lot of us sit in this room and so on. It is a choice, but the fact is that for some women it is not a choice. They really have to work, and they have to be out there working every day. But as Khalil Gibran says, that always we have been told that work is a curse, it is hard labor and a misfortune. But I say, when you work, you fulfill a part of Earth's furthest dream assigned to you, living in truth. You are in truth loving life. And I have to admit that in preparing for this talk and calling Delroy a few times, and I didn't know him personally before, is that there has been tremendous benefits of women participating in the workforce. And that benefit is not just like in developing countries, but also in developed countries as well, because some of the benefits are greater gender equality. No longer as a woman you have to rely on a man to pay your way for you. You can earn your own living. And it's funny, some persons in the US remember that women really started to participate in the workforce during the wartime, the Second World War. And when they went out there and started working, it was such a lot of them didn't. There is that gender equality, and there is obvious increased household income. And of course, there is financial stability for families, because as Mina said, sometimes families get dislocated for things like, you know, persons get sick. And so when there is single income and one person cannot work and is dropped out, then that can actually devastate a family. So we have seen some real positive outcomes from women working. And as a matter of fact, again, in looking at the topic, I read that the International Labour Organization suggested that women's work and increased women working may be the single most important factor in reducing poverty in developing economies. And we have seen fabulous examples of that in countries in Africa and even in Jamaica. If we think about even in our own homes, for those of us who have a household helper, that helper is either a single parent or in some cases a single grandparent. And it is that earn that allows them to create a better opportunity for their children's generation, so that their children can have a better way of life. And I think that is why most of us as women are happy that we can, because our children can enjoy what we never had. It is also a fact, and I'm hoping the room will be upset, but it's also a fact, and this actually came out in a McKinsey survey, that companies that have a greater diverse executive team or more women in management roles actually have at least about on average about 14% higher EBIT compared to companies, least diverse companies. And I think it's because of the balance that the diversion in gender brings to decision making and execution and so on. But I also need to mention that there was and I'm happy to see we have someone from the World Bank here, thank you for coming, welcome, that there was a study that was done, and we take some of these, but they actually shed a lot of light and create a lot of support in the place team. Made a specific link, female participation in the labor force and increase in GDP. And they suggested that if we can achieve the same levels of women participation rates as men participation rates, we possibly could see an increase in per capita GDP in a country even like the US by as high as 5%, or better yet, in a country like Egypt, even as high as 34%. And I think that, again, it is the whole shift. We have to add women from participating in the workplace and close those gaps so we can have even higher participation rates. But I want to examine the issue now at the micro level. Because despite the fact that there are benefits to women working and participating in the workplace, we're seeing some increases in some negative trends, like higher divorce rates. Well, I'm still married, thank God. Drug abuse, growing rates of suicide in teens, and unfortunately we have even seen some of that even issues such as hypertension. And you may ask, why would decline in growing our economies? And even though this is not an issue in Jamaica today, but it is a big issue in some developed countries, particularly in Europe and so on. So I don't know if some of you know, and I don't, because it is sometimes felt that for example, a superwoman. And she said the superwoman wakes up early with her 3 children and prepares them a good, nutritious breakfast, which they eat, and sends them off to school. She then changes into her Anne Klein suit. I know a number of persons may be in their Anne Klein suits today, and drives her husband to his commuter train and then heads off for work. Superwoman sparkles all business lunch and works hard at the computer. In the evening, she has a snack on the table for the children after school, interacts meaningfully with them, and it's not the quantity of time, no, it's just the quality. She then goes for a 6-mile run, showers and prepares a gourmet meal, making sure to have a cold martini through the church or even the Mideast oil crisis. And then she washes and puts them to bed. Then she settles down for an hour of meaningful discussion with her husband at the fireside, hearing all about his day, and these are my words now, massaging his ego and giving him the support he needs in his job. Then she goes to bed, and I'm assuming everyone over here, everyone in the room is over 18. So then they go to bed, and where she's seductive and playful and gets 8 hours of refreshing sleep and rolls around again. And I tell you, with this kind of superwoman, she could have called her mother every day, bakes cookies for the PTA, sits on the church council, and has all the holiday shopping ready and wrapped up before Christmas. But the truth is, it is really true. It might sound exaggerated, but a number of persons think that to be successful, you have to be perfect and you have to be that superwoman. But I can tell you that, well, speaking for myself personally, and Delroy asked me to bring the person, I am not a I have a friend, someone to use the term saying we're living on the line. And she asked me, are you still living on the line? You know, I'm not a superwoman, and you don't have to be. You know, you don't have to try to be tremendous. Bring it closer home and give a few minutes of a personal perspective. Very early in my career, my husband Peter, he gave me a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Persons. It was written by Stephen Covey. A book called First Things Peter. A book called and later on, Habits of Highly. So there was a little, he was hoping to help me out for that family support, and it was Mina who said it, Therese said it, that family support is very important when you make that decision to take on a career and to be successful at it, because you really can't do it alone, and you obviously cannot be a superwoman. And I have kudos to my husband Peter for his support. 7 Habits of Highly Effective. Habit 1 says be proactive. Habit being proactive is responsibility for your life, not blaming anybody else for your problems, not blaming your teachers for your bad grades, you know, not blaming your boss for your genes, but really just accepting the fact that you, for me, at the personal level, being proactive also meant just really shedding some superficial relationships and really just focusing on spending more time with my family. I mean, there was a lot of time when I'd have wanted to go out and have drinks with the girls or something, but it just was not possible. And also for me, it meant doing everything with a lot of passion and a lot of zest, and taking control of things that I had control over, like my relationship with my children and my family, my performance at work, and not being distracted with things like my boss's mood or somebody else's success or anything like that. It also meant making sure that I took care of the home front, that I had good care for my children. And, you know, in the Bible, Jesus speaks about spitting out lukewarm water, because he says, you know, it's insipid. It's neither hot nor cold. I'm not always good at it, but I try not to be lukewarm about it. 2, for me, first things first. And Mina, you couldn't have said it better. Properly and say no. You just try to do everything, but you really when my family had the Friday, and he got admitted in intensive, a ventilator machine, put on a machine to breathe for him and everything. And he was there for 21 days. Now, I was the person who took Stephen to the UK. But when I took him and the doctor said, you cannot go home, you have to take him to the hospital and you have two choices. You could choose Boston, you could choose UWI. I chose Bustamante because I had a good experience with them before. And I stayed with Stephen for the entire 21 days. The turns we took between Peter and myself was only for me to go home, shower, and come back. When he was in intensive care, I couldn't sleep there and I was miserable, but they allowed me to stay there till 11 in the nights, and then I would go. And for the 21 days, I didn't go back to work. I didn't abandon my job. I worked at Scotiabank and come back. I worked until I was sure that Stephen would be fully healed and that he would be restored to good health and that I could take him home. And after 21 days, he was healed. It has always been about deciding in that what is first. And Stephen certainly was first for me then. I give you another example in terms of saw, which is my third habit and my final habit. Sharpening the saw really is about understanding your greatest asset and making sure that your greatest asset is in good shape. And for me, my greatest asset is me. You know, I have to manage my physically, and in this room, I know a lot of people are very bad friend because I'm a better mother for forgiveness, because I don't hang out with them enough. But my greatest asset is me because I have to take care of me so I can take care of my family. And I extend the concept of sharpening the saw to we take family vacation. It doesn't necessarily mean jumping on a plane and go out together. Because my husband was a little like, what? Why? You know, but I said, no, we have to. I really don't believe in quality time for your family to grow and thrive. You have to spend time together. That's another bank, not NCB. My husband and I used to put in really long hours at work, and we're at that point where Mina says, you know, you're building a career and so you're always working. And thank God for my mother and my mother-in-law, both of them. They helped us. My mother-in-law kept my daughter after school, after preschool every day. And so on the weekends, it was kind of mean to expect her to keep her on the weekends as well. So on a Saturday, which was like almost every Saturday, I would take PK to work with me. I never had Stephen at the time. And one Saturday I saw PK, looked at her and I said, this is not right. You know, she's like, at the time she was like about 3. I said, you know, she should be outside somewhere having fun. And I still put it at 7 o'clock in the evening, still finished, but I would not work. That weekends would be rejuvenate and to reconnect, and that was 18 years ago. And I'm saying I've never worked another weekend because we tend to have our management conferences on weekends at NCB, but I don't make weekend working a matter of course. So finally, ladies and gentlemen, I must admit that even though Stephen Covey's book helped me a lot, I mean, like, I listened to the tapes, I read the book about the family, I read First Things First. Now that I'm older, now that we're older, you know, now that I'm older, I find my guidance from the Bible accepted that there is not one principle in life that you cannot find in the Bible. And so I find a lot of my strength from there. But as I close, I'll leave you with 2 quotes. One is from Khalil Gibran. It says, work is love made visible. And if you cannot work with love, but only with distaste, it is better that you should leave your work and sit at the gate of the temple and take alms from those who work with joy. But ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you that, to be honest, I love my work. I like what I do. Every day when I go to work, I feel like, you know, I help people to put their best life forward. and that's and that's a good thing. But at the same time, I try to integrate. And so most of my inspiration now is from the Bible. It's verse 9, and this is mainly for the ladies. So sorry, gents. Do not grow weary of doing good work. Harvest. Thank you.
I'm sure many of us identify challenges, and I'm sure we will on being a career woman.
Mike? Go. Good afternoon, everybody. Official cleanup artist. What am I supposed to talk about? And then they're asking me to work-life balance. When the first thing that Gail said was, what you said about it?
It's an elusive concept.
It's an elusive concept. It's an elusive with a couple ladies as well. And they're like, let me see a hand up, all the hands of the persons in here who feel guilt. So y'all think it's an elusive concept, right? All right, me here. Slide's not working. Okay. So everybody has heard, I don't like how this mic going. Everybody has heard about Sandberg, and she talks about, she says she walks out of office every day at 5:30 so she can be home for dinner with her kids at 6. And interestingly, has been doing that since she had kids. Mina spoke about a trust fund. How many persons have a trust fund in here? Necessarily be morning also to see, right? But when Delroy calls and says that it's basically ensuring that equal time is spent doing the thing in my office. I thought about it and I said to you, because that's how I died. And then before I even reached there, I thought about my parents. So if I'm lying, there was a point in time when to cast at the time, and Daddy was at home. I never felt at all of mercy. That is the only advance. He learned how to cook more here. That was the only thing not do. He could cook. You know, my shows him. Things that are important. Learn about before and what is important to you. So you have career, you have your family, you have spirituality, and me time. Me time. How many people know that exists? Me time, no cell phone, nothing, just me time. Get through. Your career allows you to be able to afford things in life. Yeah? The good, the bad, and the indifferent. But it allows you to afford it, it allows your family to afford it. With your family, and for me, you have two sets of family. I have my family, as in the people I grew up with, my sisters, my cousins, some friends, my best friend, and I heard Audrey say earlier that, you know, some people might cut her off as a friend. But my best friends are my sisters, and I have another best friend who is like a sister, and we know that if we talk 6 months down the road, she's still my best friend. She understands what I'm going through, so there's no need for her to be upset about that. So that's the family support. Going to be there. Those are the people that you need. Spirituality. We're Jamaicans. Most of us grew up in the church. My dad used to preach and my sister, we all used to think that to others no one stands alone. And those are the by today. That's where your spirituality comes in. And I'll tell you a little story about me. Some years ago, I was working at this institution. Well, even before that, I have never sent out a resume and got a job. Never. I've always received a call. Somebody saw me, somebody liked me because of how I do my job, and they say, come and do an interview, and I get the interview. But some years ago, I was working at this institution. Went there, things weren't all that good. And normally when things not all that good, I just sit down and wait because a job offer is on the table. No job offer. Partner's mom's house, talking. What you believe, you know, you might happen, but nothing is. And gentlemen, it every time. I'm no longer in a negative space. I'm going to go in the Sunday cleaner because it was a Sunday, and I'm going to go through, and I'm going to send out some resumes, and before the end of the week, I mail them out, I send them out, and I drop them, and before the end of the week, I'm going to get a job, or a call for a job. And by the Thursday, there's this young lady I knew, and she was calling off my phone like crazy, but she's also a friend. We used to work together. So I called her and said, "Will you call off my phone so for? Miss Johnson, this is a formal call. You're being asked to report to, what was the name of the place? To the Knutsford. We're having interviews at the Knutsford for the CEO of Proof of Wealth." I'm like, what? There's a God, and He has always guided me. So you see this thing, spirituality? You see this thing called support, underpin. It says consequences. So when you're growing in your career, so I was working at Billy Craig many years ago. DB&G took over when there was an, you know, as a merger and acquisition, you're the underdog. Going as the underdog, when you go in the office, everybody wonder if you're here for the job. Everybody start treat you away. Them say, and I am CV and Betty Johnson's daughter, and then grow me up with confidence and value. Right? So I started really, really hard. I got a promotion. I was there in the September, and by the November, they asked me if I wanted to run a branch. I've never run a branch before, but of course I'm going to say, of course, yes. Yes, I can run a branch. So the rest is history, but guess what? Shoreville was working so hard. Shoreville was getting all the promotion. Forgot about Shoreville. So some years later, I got very, very sick. And I heard somebody ask the question before, you know, when Delroy asked them to do this, they said, why me? And I asked the question, why me? And I bawled and I bawled, and one day I heard, why not you? Because I had the family support. And I had the work family support. So everything I was going through then, even if I didn't have the money, the company I was working for, because I worked so hard, they said you had to do a surgery in Miami, here's the money, go. We'll work out how it is paid for after. All I did was say to my sister, go and collect the money and wire it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, has to do with being honest, being hardworking, right? But the health scare is a reality. I'm now vegan. And the question, when I said, why me? I'm a published author. I wrote a vegan cookbook because I became vegan as a matter of choice for my health, right? But then I found out that, listen, you know, not many people know how to cook vegan or vegetarian, so let me write a book and help them out. Because I did that. So then, you know, when you say, why me? The why not you have become a reality, right? Slide. Okay, so the key thing is to enjoy your life and don't be reactionary. If you're prepared for everything, it's not going to. And all said, I am no superwoman. Because I have kids, I have stepkids. And there are times when you know that they like something special, 4 o'clock and bake. Might just not be that Auntie Shoreville made that your child might not, that you put things in nephew and he, Auntie Shoreville, you're so busy at Proof and you can't pick that I'm lacking on something. So you me, positive vibes, positive So how are we going to the balancing act? So it seems like I'm saying, you can have a work-life balance. Everybody getting it? You can have a work-life balance. So balancing is an inside job because it starts internally. You're not going to wait on the company that has everything in place, maternity leave, all of these things, all the benefits. Yes, that is good. But if you internally not dealing with it, you're still going to have problems. So there's no formula. No one can tell you how to balance your life. You have to find a balance based on your lifestyle, what works for you. It might work for me today, but I can't come to you and say, Dennis, this is how it works. Do it this way. No. You have to assess your life for yourself, and what is balanced to me might not be balanced to you. And guess what, ladies? This year I found out that I had a lot of women support. Thank you, Mino. Thank you, Pat. But we women, when you see a successful woman and she's moving along, Lord, she's miserable. Lord, she can't dress. Don't listen to the noises. Because we women need to stop tearing down each other and support. So it means that balance might not necessarily mean 50-50 of anything at all. It might just mean segmenting your life in the way that suits you. That it is an insurmountable. If you ask my staff, I don't like the word challenge. And don't come into my office with a problem. Come with a solution. Because my brain alone can't tick. If every problem that exists, I have to solve it. My part in life is change. Together. Moms in cutting out.
What is it that you think is preventing them from working from home, doing all those alternative arrangements?
I mean, I mentioned it. I think part of it is culture. Part of it is, we are in a very driven part of the world where what you just described, I mean, trying to climb up the corporate ladder is very important. Another part of it is, where people are in their individual journeys. I mean, a lot of us recognize that we can't push ourselves to those limits without creating some balance for ourselves. There's been a lot of talk about the emphasis on health and having me time. For example, I always find time for meditation, for exercise, because I think that's really important. If your body's not in good shape, you can't really do anything on the job that's worthwhile. So I think part of it is just people at different points in their lives recognizing that you can't just, consistently. Our institutions also have to push these policies more, because at the end of the day, look at the other side, insurance claims. If you don't have a healthy workplace, it's going to also affect the bottom line of the institution, and so it affects the whole environment. But I think that's the main thing, and people also not being aware of how they can use the policies, because I think we don't actually sell these policies very well, and we somehow stigmatize people who say they want to participate because of all the other reasons that were mentioned, right?
Thank you, Therese. Mina, anybody? Okay.
Thank you so much. My brain is really just turning over. There's just so much to say, so much to ask. But I will reserve some of my comments and my questions. And I'm introducing myself because I'm trying to use this opportunity to network with our presenters. And this is my topic. So I'm pleased to be. So I'm using the opportunity to. I'm Sarita Buchanan. So if you see me, send you an email. But I have one point and one question. I know a lot of you actually spoke about the different resources and the modern day woman. And I think a lot of what I've been reading speaks to this type of woman. But I notice a lot of the research is skewed towards upper class women who actually have these resources at their disposal. But my question, and I think this is the area of work, and I think Jamaica, based on what I found, does not have enough of these policies as it relates to work-life balance. I think we're getting there. In Jamaica, married, about choice, they have children. So I mean, as I said, my brain is, I said a lot of things just now, but I don't know if you can respond to any of them, if you have any views, or are these just questions you have yourself? And I'll send you emails.
A bit about who has been with me since, she tells me it's over 20. She is one of my best friends. I mean, I trust her, and I go from work to home, and I'll call her and say, I have 15 minutes at home, find something for me to wear to this function. Not just that. I'm these women do it. And what is doing for me about spirituality? I go to any church where anybody invite me, I go. I don't have a church home. I'm not, this is one side that I need to work on. I think I have it all, but this is something I can work on. And it's something I'm going to do, but she does that for me. She keeps, my son, can you sponsor? So really,
Thank you, Mina.
I'll just add a little 2 cents here, because I never had a helper and still don't have a helper who will cook. My other half cooks. So you know, my
God, Shelby, I have the other half who can cook.
So at the end of the day, it's to find or the person who does that, but it's the little things that count. I'll be at work and busy all day, and then I see all my staff come in there, the office attendant come in there, not eat all day, and they all stand at the door. If you don't eat, you big and appreciate
Children and they come to school and we provide who is unable to provide. So providing the support in the school strengthens the family and provides a foundation with the values we forward to.
Well, when it was taken women's empowerment, and the men could not understand why we wanted women's empowerment. But gender mainstreaming is that women are not as empowered as they should be. We still have to work towards getting rid of some of the stereotypes, getting rid of some roadblocks that are in the way, in order to get women to the point where gender that affect both can be dealt with. I know the website, it's an interesting policy, retabled in Parliament by the present administration. We are at one. There's no political divide when it comes to gender issues. And interestingly enough, when I was minister, I found that because a lot of focus was on women, the Women's Bureau, I changed the name to the Gender Bureau. And then I'm very focused also on the issues that affect our boys. And so it's a partnership. And going forward, if and when there is a change, the policy will continue to focus on gender mainstreaming and, of course, extra effort on women's empowerment.
To give a response to the question about what are we doing about the working class woman, and I think that I think that I want to go back to where Therese was, which is in terms of what can we do to allow more women to participate in the workforce. I'll just speak about NCB as a company and some of the things that other companies could do. So for example, care facility of our employees, but we also provide opportunities outside of Kingston. We also provide like arrangements for them. We spoke about the fact that most of the health issues affect women, because I suppose we are now carrying a lot of the stress. So at NCB we also provide gym facilities for employees. So I think that even though we're not yet at the point of flexible work hours, which is something organizationally we'd like to do, but obviously there are issues to get there, I think that each company can find a way to create an opportunity, because remember that not all the people work at NCB. They're not all executives or managers. We have low staff and so on, and they make up the mass of our employees. So I think that maybe at the workplace level, we can try to create some opportunities so that we can encourage greater participation of women in the workforce.
Some inequalities that are showing household chores. I have a security detail. When sometimes I'm rushing and he's on the phone and he's saying to his kids, did you have the juice? And he has a list of things and he's going through this list with them. And his wife, who goes abroad and things. So I think balancing here with us today, that they too are stepping up.
Thank you very much. Pat, you have a question?
Delroy, put me on there. Okay. When Delroy came to me and he said, Pat, I want you, what's your question? And I said, but you know what I believe in, and what most people who know me well know what I believe in. We have had these conversations year in, year out. And as you can see, I may be one of the older ones here in this room. Babsy and myself. So we have been through many years. We have been through, and we have heard these conversations. As I say, it's not anymore legislation or government paper written that to make the change. At the scene, we become the game itself. We wouldn't even be having this conversation. Because we'd already be there, we wouldn't be having whether our head doesn't understand, because there'd be no difference. Our helpers would feel human beings, we would be feeling. Men, women, children. I hate to use, as I say, this. And when I had my children's program with you, I said, and these children. These are children that coming from a low socioeconomic situation, and we who are maybe, for the grace of God, would pull everybody up. What I want to say is like, and when I see what's happening in America today, legislation didn't change it. Piece of paper governance, because the people in their hearts and consciousness don't believe that coming from this place are one, which is the one God. And until we, I think, can really get just coming here and getting a high moment at this luncheon, I think what Delroy is doing is so amazing. I'll always support him. From the first one he had, when I spoke with him, I just met him, Babsy. What, you going to take credit for that, Jerry? I really will tell you. And my dear son-in-law who introduced me to Delroy. And I will always support him, because from the first one, because he's onto something. He probably don't even know how big a thing is. But you're not going to stop there, Roy. Keep moving. Let the energy move you. And this is what I want to say to all of us. It's the consciousness that we need, which is in each and every one of us. The soul of who we are to be shifted. So when I see you, I see you. I see you. I see you. I see my helper. I see my helper when she come in and walk up that hill to come up to me. She's in menopause. I know what menopause was all about. I knew how I felt. I could hardly move. When just because I know what you're going through. This is it. There is no difference. Everybody is coming from that same place. We are the one. And we will even be having. And please, next year, let us not be having this come. Let us know, be saying to each other, my God, look how we have moved. Look at what is happening in my nation, in my world. Look at what is happening. And this is what I want to see us do. So as an elder, I love to use the elder thing now, you see, because I could go on to you about, you talk about juggling, how do you move graciously to the other level, which is my level? How do you move graciously and know that we have done it, and it's time for the young people now. Work as a guidance with them and give them the space. Give them the space because they know what they want. You all know what you want. But we need to facilitate the development. This is also a part of the juggling. Fulfill that's coming on with. Help them. And this is a part of the juggling. Okay? Thank you, and your wonderful audience.
Thank you, Pat.
Applaud you all.
All right, so at this time, I'm just going to acknowledge our sponsors for this afternoon. National Group, JN Small Business Loans, Ireland Coffees, Phoenix Print Trade, Juice TV. At this point, I'm going for the members of the audience. Oh. Mrs. Deputy General Manager of JN and Senior Finance Manager for JN. Are they still here?
Yes, they are.
Join me. Please join giveaways from the Gleaner too. Wow. How many giveaways do we have? Horn. Win some games from we need a representative from the Gleaner. 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 Anati Mills.
Not here.
Anati Mills. Okay. Sabrina Powell. Sabrina Powell.
Oh, Sabrina. Combined power woman.
Terry, another name.
young man wins.
D. Thompson?
Delroy? No.
Delroy?
No.
No.
And I just said no man should win, you know. No man should win this at all.
Anne-Marie Milton. Anne-Marie Milton? Going once, twice, gone. Okay. Larry Oakley Williams.
Somebody wrote that name. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, hold on. Was that? Hold on.
That's the NHD
That was okay for
I see orchids coming this way. What's that?
Yes.
Okay, so so I'm gonna ask each speaker to, we have some orchids for you, to say thank you, job well done. Okay? Mina, you go first.
So ladies and gentlemen, I'm very honored. I like orchids, by the way. And they're maroon and gold. Yes, maroon and gold. At the control.
On behalf of industry leaders, I take great
Very inspirational.
Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of Leaders to Leaders, Mrs. Turner, we'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedule, which shows that you're really integrating to come and talk to us and to help to motivate us to be future leaders like you are. Thank you so much.
And this is Tamina Israel. I've always admired you. We salute you and thank you so much. A lot. And thank you all for coming, and we'd like Julian Hines would like you to come. Julian Hines.
Good evening, everybody. I know we are getting ready to go and are ready to go. I want to leave my 2 cents to the ladies. Ladies, empowerment really comes from within. Our values really embedded within. Whether we have husbands, mentors, whether they are helpers at home, or mothers, or sisters, or aunties, empowerment and value really comes from within. And like the other speakers, leading an organization, holding a seriously inspiring luncheon, and we have learned quite a great deal from our speakers, to whom we are much indebted. Therese reminded us that it is a moral and business imperative that organizations, regardless of environment,
environment where work-life harmony becomes the norm. Colleen encouraged us to know and understand our value. Minna shared that as we meander through our careers and family personal obligations, it is essential that we understand and accept that we can't have it all. Audrey warned that the type of career we choose does impact our family and personal life harmony. Charbel shared that there is no universal or one-size-fits-all concept of balance. They all have left us with some kind of tip and something that we can go home with and remind ourselves of. I wish also to thank Mrs. Gail Abrams, the event's chairperson, for the capable way in which she managed the speaker's time and moderating the question and answer session. Gail, you were absolutely wonderful. Thanks also to Delroy Morgan, the driving force behind the speaker series. His vision and interest and hard work have once again produced another successful event in the series. We wish to thank him and his team for the efforts in developing this platform, where thought leaders meet to share their insights and experiences on various themes and topics. I encourage you all to continue to support them in this effort. We also want to acknowledge the support of the sponsors, Proven Wealth Limited, the Gleaner Company, the Jamaica National Group, JN Small Business Loans, Island Coffees, Phoenix Printery, Juice TV, Buccaneer Rum Cake, and Blackwell Rum. Their generous contributions made this event possible. In concluding, I want to thank you, the audience, for and presenting topics of the day. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the organizing committee of the Leaders to Leaders Speaker Series, I say once again that we are all most grateful to all our speakers, and I now ask you to join with me in giving our speakers a round of applause. So I just want to encourage my women to go forth. We can achieve work balance and remind you that empowerment within. Thank you.
Financial institutions spend millions yearly promoting their ideas of the best savings product. But who takes time to design a savings plan that is perfect for me? You see, Jane creates a plan based on my needs, my way, with my budget, my goals, and my dreams. Why don't you start your conversation today?
The Gleaner builds brands in many ways. More options, better reach, greater value. Call us today to book 51 or 9236141 or your